Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. Don't worry, she'll be back. I'll be back. We'll both be back. Weekends tend to be a little chaotic for us, but we're going to talk about the strike. We're going to talk about Hollywood. We're going to talk about how Universal is not going to lengthen the reinstated term deals for some showrunners, creators, writers after the strike. It's going to focus on renewals. This is interesting because the purpose of this strike, from my point of view, now the writers and the actors are like, oh, the purpose of the strike was to make sure we get more money. And yeah, that is the purpose from their point of view. My point of view has been throughout the duration of this, that this was basically to cut costs and to use the strike as a way to be able to cancel shows. Yes, the people who are left will get better deals. But I don't know if they really read the fine print, because it seems like there are going to be more hoops that are going to have to be jumped through, and that there are definitely going to be fewer shows. You know, we've talked about this at length. I did a video the other day, and this is actually the same author from Deadline, Nelly Andreeva. She put the same thing up, that the market has burst. The streaming bubble has burst, that the market is contracting right now, and that studios are saying they're not going to greenlight nearly as many shows as they did before. And again, the people that are going to benefit the most from the new deal are the people who are left. There are going to be fewer of them, but they're going to be paid better than they would have been before. But that's usually how things work out, right? A lot of times it's the cream rises to the top. So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, oh, this is interesting. This is related. Newsom vetoes WGA and SAG-AFTRA bill to provide unemployment benefit to striking workers. Oh, that's not going to help his public image in California very much, is it? Yeah, I mean, look, you're more than welcome to strike. If you're in a union and you're striking, and that is your prerogative, you are allowed to do that. However, I don't think it should fall to the state or to other business owners to pay the taxes if you have chosen to walk off the job. If Joe's employees don't think they're being treated fairly, Jane should not have to pay the bill so his employees can get better pay, right? She needs to take care of her own people. I'm just saying. That's my opinion. That's my opinion on that. We might look into this too while we're at it. Deadline says suspend and not extend. Universal Studio Group opts not to lengthen its reinstated term deals and focuses instead on renewals. Again, coming from Deadline, for some writer-producers, the enthusiasm over going back to work this week was dampened by the news that their overall deals suspended during the WGA strike are being reinstated but not extended. Nowhere has this been more prevalent than Universal Studios, which includes Universal Television and UCP. The company has reinstated all of its writing and non-writing producers, but did not extend the term on any of the deals. This does not impact mega producers such as Dick Wolf and Seth MacFarlane, whose deals were never suspended as they worked on non-struck shows. It barely impacts non-writing producers like Lorne Michaels, whose packs were suspended for just a couple of weeks. It's the writers who are the most affected, as their deals were suspended for the entire 5-month duration of the WGA work stoppage. That translates into hundreds of thousands of dollars, in some cases millions of dollars, of earnings they won't get without an extension, and I hear many of them are not happy. Sometimes you can win and lose at the same time. So basically, as I understand it, the studios, and again, this is just, layman's understanding here, but as I understand it, the studios had the option of extending, like if you were on strike for 4 or 5 months, they would tack another 4 or 5 months on to the end of your contract, meaning you really wouldn't be out anything. We basically just pause your deal. That's not what's going on. Instead, they're like, no, we're we're going to let that deal lapse, and then we're going to give you another deal, or not. That's the thing. I think, again, this strike was created, designed, I believe, so Hollywood could get rid of the bloat. They greenlit a lot of shows that they knew were not going to perform, a lot of movies that were not going to perform, And, the streaming wars we're on kind of the other side of the biggest battles, I think. And now it's just Survivor. It's Highlander, and it's going to be whoever's left standing. And they don't have the money. They really don't have the money to greenlight a whole lot of stuff. So you're going to see a lot of like 6 and 8 season shows on Netflix and all that. Okay, back to the article. Term deals don't automatically extend after a strike-related suspension. The studios have the option at their discretion in a so-called suspend and extend move where the length of the suspension is added to the end of the term deal. That's what most other studios and streamers have been doing this week, making extension decisions on a case-by-case basis. According to sources, Universal opted for a uniform policy across the portfolio, adhering to all deals' original terms while focusing on renewing those the studios want to remain in business with. Let me read this again. This goes back to what I was saying when they signed the deal. This is about them keeping the people they want to keep happier, giving them more money, but also giving them an out to get rid of people. According to sources, Universal opted for a uniform policy across the portfolio, adhering to all deals' original terms while focusing on renewing those the studios want to remain in business with. This is about purging the glut of writers in Hollywood. There are 11,500 members in the WGA. Do you all think you're going to have a job after this? You're not. I'm sorry. Again, the writers who are working will have better deals, but not everybody is going to get a deal. I hear that started about 6 months before the strike when Universal initiated renewal conversations with showrunners whose packs expire in 2023. Some deals were completed before the May 2nd start of the writer's strike. The rest of the negotiations are being picked up now. So yeah, the people they wanted, they're like, okay, we're gonna get these people in before the strike. We'll renegotiate, and then we'll use the strike as an excuse to get rid of a bunch of people that we don't want to deal with. And then there's other news out there that, yeah, a lot of these writers are pissed off, and we'll talk about this. For overall agreements ending in 2024 and 2025, the studios are expected to re-engage closer to their expiration date with those who will be offered renewals. And if they don't want it, they might just drag it out until the very end and then just be like, well, due to macroeconomic circumstances, the market's changed. We don't want your stuff. Well, USG is the only studio to opt for a blanket no extension policy, which does save a significant amount of money for parent company NBC Universal, as there will be no 5-month payments under the current deal's terms. Elements of the strategy is being used by other studios. As Deadline reported earlier this week, Warner Brothers TV, which is believed to have been the first studio to send out reinstatement letters, on Wednesday extended a number of showrunners, including its biggest names, while also opting not to extend a significant portion of its suspended deals, as many as half. According to sources, mostly impacted are packs ending in 2025 and beyond, with the studio like USG taking a wait-and-see approach to evaluate how the talent performs before making a decision. I hear in the case of Warner Brothers, exercising an extension option later on for some of the deals is possible. I hear most of Sony's reinstatement letters do not contain an no extension clause, with the studio saying those will be subject to future conversations. Streamers, which have mostly extended their overalls, Amazon just started sending out the bulk of its notifications. Other traditional studios have handed out a slew of extensions this week. Across the board, studios and streamers have not granted extension to deals they were not planning to renew, which expired during the strike or expiring soon. It's also worth noting that there were no known overall or first look deal terminations during the strike, which was not the case during the 2007-2008 strike. They're using this to get rid of the stuff they don't think is going to perform. Anonymous. The TV market was overheated and oversaturated. This is in the comments. The number of scripted TV shows is going to drop by 1/3 to 1/2, as it should. Anyone losing their job or deals is always sad, but everyone knew this day was coming. We were in a bubble, and 600 scripted shows was unsustainable. It makes obvious economic sense for studios to do this. Again, the terms are very good for those who are going to remain, but those who are going to remain for the most part are probably established showrunners, established writers. You know, the 22-year-old working at Starbucks who somehow got their WGA card and they're hoping to, you know, work on a cartoon show or something. That's not, probably not going to get a deal. You probably aren't. This will happen, but it's also going to result in a lawsuit to ensure that it doesn't happen again. As soon as the media outside the bubble gets wind that the studios retaliated against the striking workers, it's going to be over. They planned this. This is what blows my mind. Like, for all this like talk of how the unions were playing 4D chess, it's like you played right into it. Like, I'm just some guy in Pittsburgh with a microphone on YouTube, and I'm like, they wanted you to go on strike. I'm like, are you really that dumb? Did you not see this? They wanted you to go on strike, so they had a reason to get rid of a lot of these shows and a lot of these people that have frankly been underperforming and causing them a lot of problems. And yes, for those who remain, you will be paid better. You'll have better terms, but they're not going to keep all of you. And they can say, look, we're the good guys. We're paying you more, right? That's what you wanted. Oh, you didn't read the fine print. The fine print is like, only a third of you are going to keep your jobs. Whoopsie doopsie. I should have read that a little bit better. Good luck with that. It's not going to be considered retaliation. The media outside the bubble does not care. I can assure you, yeah, most people don't. The general public didn't even know there was a strike going on unless you lived in LA and you were getting harassed going to Universal Studios theme parks or whatever, or you saw, you know, people picketing on the streets. Nobody cared. Michelle Lee says, good. Lots of former agents turned so-called non-writing producers don't do any real work on their projects anyway, lose their deals. This model is broken. Use that money for development, then use the creator as showrunner or get a showrunner. It used to work that way. The idea that it's hard to get a showrunner has passed. There were 400 plus at one strike event with shows dwindling. The smart executive looks to spec paid development on ideas they like. God. I broke the terms of my, but I'm special. I broke the terms of my overall deal to strike, and now I'm angry about the repercussions. Ooh, you must have a sad life. I hope your employer screws you over. The problem is they went on strike. Yeah, that's it. You go on strike, and you might get what you want, but it kind of resets the board a little bit. So this didn't work out very well either. Gavin Newsom vetoes WGA and SAG-AFTRA backed bill to provide unemployment benefits to striking workers. Any extension of eligibility for unemployment benefits could increase California's outstanding federal UI debt, projected to be nearly $20 billion by the end of the year, and could jeopardize California's benefit cost ratio add-on waiver application, significantly increasing tax on employers. Taxes on employers? Tax on employers. Basically, other businesses have to pay for your workers going on strike, and that's not fair. You know, if it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to happen in like California or freaking Portland or something, you know what I'm saying? But like, that's not fair. If your workers feel they're treated badly and they go on strike, it's not fair that other people have to pay the bill, you know, for your workers to go on strike. That's ridiculous. And at that point, everybody's just going to go on strike, right? Now is not the time to increase costs or incur this sizable debt. His decision to veto the legislation comes after the WGA and AMPTP reached a tentative agreement and SAG-AFTRA's return to the bargaining table. So basically, I think everybody knew that the WGA was going to reach a deal here pretty soon. And he's like, well, you know, they're kicking the can down the road. They're like, we'll deal with it in January. Now it's like, yeah, we're going to make sure we close this avenue off. So if somebody else gets an idea they want to go on strike and they think they're going to collect unemployment, it's not going to happen. Newsom said he has a deep appreciation and respect for workers who fight for their rights and come together in collective action, but his veto still is a blow to organized labor, with unions pointing to the need for a safety net for the workers and their families. At a time when public support of unions and strikes is at an all-time high, this veto is out of step with American values, says Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher of the California Labor Federation. Anthony Portantino, is that it? State Senator Anthony Portantino said in a statement that he was disappointed by the veto. He said the bill would have injected a small piece of security to working families that is needed and deserved. Yeah, it's like $450 a week. You know, these guys were striking for like over $10,000 a week as writers. And like $450 is not going to go far in California. They said that they have benefits in New York and New Jersey. I think New Jersey, I know, is probably cheaper in California, but not New York. Yeah, so this is the president of the WGA and the president of SAG-AFTRA, or the SAG-AFTRA Secretary Treasurer, testified in Sacramento in support of the bill. Yeah, I think it's stupid. I think it's stupid to allow, again, payments to go out to people because their workers felt like they need to go on strike because you're getting stuck with that bill. You as a business owner who maybe has happy employees, I mean, maybe all your employees are well paid and they're happy and everything's cool. You have to pay for somebody else's disgruntled employees. That is not a good deal. I'm sorry. That is freaking stupid. I'd be like, if I were a business owner, and he's probably looking at that too, and they probably threatened it. Like, yeah, how many California businesses have just moved to Texas? Because they're like, you know what? It's bullshit. I'm not paying for other people's disgruntled workers because every other week in California, somebody's going on strike. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, pretty interesting situation here, guys. Again, you can win and still lose. We'll keep an eye on this. We'll keep an eye on this for sure. I think that reality is going to set in for a lot of these unionized workers. And again, I said since the beginning, if you can get yours, get yours. Where I got pissed off personally was more with on the SAG-AFTRA side of things. They tried telling YouTubers that they were not allowed to cover struck shows or whatever. You just were not allowed to. And I'm like, that's bullshit. You have no right to tell people like us who are not in your union what we can and can't do. It's not our fight. It's your fight. If you truly feel like you need to get more money, then you go get that money, you know, but you don't enlist other people. And what they're hoping for, and it backfired. I think it backfired tremendously. What they're hoping for is to get a bunch of wannabes, you know, wannabe screenwriters and wannabe actors, whatever, to support them, you know, to basically go in lockstep, because what would happen is people would tune into YouTube and TikTok instead of watching their shows. And I think it backfired. I think even now, I think a lot of younger creators are looking at this situation like, does it even make sense to join a union? Like, does it really make sense to join a union? And I think we're going to see a lot of FICOR people pop up because of this, and you can go Google that whole thing. But we're going to have a lot of people that are going to go basically independent, I think, because there were some people that were like, I'm completely happy to work. You know, I would like to work. Just because these people don't want to work for 5 months doesn't mean I don't want to work for 5 months, you know, and that's one of the downsides of joining a union is you got to do what the group tells you to do, whether or not it makes sense, you know. And I'm going to wrap this one up, though. Pretty interesting stuff. You're coming back to a very, very different Hollywood. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.